Peace, prosperity, and love, beautiful people. Welcome to Gracefully Imperfect, a podcast for the Black and African diaspora in material of socioeconomics, politics, religion, and so forth. The centrality of this podcast is immersive empathy, introspection, deep thought, soul-serving conversation and communication, all in the light of unlocking the keys to vulnerability and transformation. During our time together, we will engage in topics related to mental and spiritual health experiences, the intersectionality of mental health and creativity, identity and culture, and any and all things related to healing from trauma, gathering insights, cultivating a deep sense of knowing, and repairing soul wounds. In the essence of communal love and collective consciousness, let us open our minds, lighten our hearts, settle our spirit, access soul intelligence, and affirm the richness of our humanity.
Peace, blessings, and revolutionary love to all of you. This is Brotha KD, and this is Gracefully Imperfect. And on this podcast, we are constantly looking at all aspects, all perspectives, all pieces of our imperfect selves. And we are embracing transformation and vulnerability, one conversation at a time. I'm your host. I'm the creator of this podcast, and I have been blessed with the ability, with the health and the wellness to sit here before you and to continue to share in this sacred, intimate space of transformation, vulnerability, and reawakening. I know it's been a while. I know it has. And we are going to become more consistent on this platform. Yet and still, I'm still seeing a lot of you showing up, watching previous episodes, becoming subscribers. And I just want to say thank you. Out of all the other podcasts out there, all the different mediums to listen and to gain perspective, you chose Gracefully Imperfect. And I hope that you continue to choose Gracefully Imperfect. Gracefully Imperfect, for those who are new, is a concept that I developed about 6 years ago as I was going through a very tumultuous time in the military. And during that time, I was facing the mirror and seeing a version of myself that I was ashamed of. And this version of myself focused more on material aspect, performance, production, and doing what needs to be done in order to socially ascend within an institution. And I noticed that because my focus was more materialistic and superficial in scope and in nature, that it distorted my understanding and interpretations of reality. And while I was in the military, I saw a lot of things. I've been a part of a lot of things that I'm not proud of, that I would consider dehumanizing and indignifying. And so that moral that moral component, that spiritual component, that humanistic component continue to touch the center of my core. I had to pay attention to it. And so one of the ways of me documenting this transformation, this process of reckoning and awakening, was to create a podcast. Not because I wanted notoriety, not because I wanted to receive this lauded response or anything like that. I just wanted a medium that I could use in order to be honest and transparent to my children. Gracefully Imperfect started just as a continuing, enduring conversation with my children. So when they get on a when they become of age, they have this to reflect on, to listen to question. And then it became something more. I realized that through my vulnerability, it entices and inspires and excites other people to be vulnerable. I realized that this level and depth of vulnerability and transformation is something that needed to be shared. And so Gracefully Imperfect became more than just the name of the podcast. It became a philosophy, a paradigm, and a praxis to which I have written about through the Helpful Life magazine that I have injected in my social work education, and that eventually propelled the development of liberation social work, which is the framework that I developed in order for us to achieve Pan-African / Black power from a socio-cultural standpoint. So Gracefully Imperfect, for those who are new, those who trying to figure out what this is all about, it is still very much a love letter to my children. And it's also a love letter to the diaspora, to those who are languishing in silence and despair, who are hopeless, who are looking for community, but can't find where their people are. This is for the people of the diaspora who have went through so much trauma, adversity, and violence, and wonder if it's still worth seeing humanity as good, righteousness, and just. It is for those of us who are still affected by the intergenerational wounds of the Mayafa, the African chattel enslavement period, who have grew up in socialization circles where we were taught not to love ourselves, that we were taught to compare ourselves to white people, to assimilate to white people, to adopt their frame of reference and their point of view. And the consequence, we have been miseducated, misled. We have been taken away from the source of our ancestral wisdom, knowledge systems, and traditions. We have been given pre-established values and principles. And our center of focus, our perspective, and our point of view and our ideas have been marginalized. All of that changes through Gracefully Imperfect. All of that changes through liberation social work. Because in this space, under this banner, within this framework and this approach, we champion the diversity of thought, of perception, of cultural systems, knowledge systems, etc. We look at the Black woman and the Black man and the Black child as the center of focus. We look at Black survival, flourishing, thriving situations with fervor and attention. We look at Black mental health and emotional wellness. We look at spiritual components. We look at everything that is blackety black. You dig? So I really truly hope that we can continue to do this work and continue to really cement our groundings within a legacy of Black joy, Black healing, liberation, and resistance. The last episode was titled Dear Firstborn, where I spoke at length of just how proud I am to be a father, how that has been a very challenging yet rewarding process. And I also spoke about how my firstborn, our oldest son, has showed me and demonstrated the lessons that I need to learn in order to continue to ascend and to continue to expand my consciousness. And to be quite frank, I I love my my children so much that if I could, I would center all my content around them. I really would. Um, and I will get to a point to where I'm gonna start bringing them into the fold because they are the number one. They're the number one. They're the number one people in my life who teach me the most about myself. Now, let me repeat that again. They are the number one people in my life who teach me the most about myself. Children are the mirrors of our ancestors. They're the mirrors of the past, present, and future. The way that you show up with children, your children, other people's children, says a lot about the lessons that you're still learning, unfinished business from your past, underlying issues that are enwrapped in other things, which would tend to confuse you and distort your ability of knowing exactly what it is. And the conflict and struggles from within. They bring all of that out. And the more that they continue to bring that out, I know for me, I resisted it. I had a limited conception of the brilliance, spirituality, and intelligence of children. And so when things were coming out, shame, despair, condescension, all these things were coming out, and I didn't like it. Made me feel uncomfortable. Mm-mm. That can't be me. They brought that out of me. It was already within me. It was already dormant. It has already manifested. But I know I fought that. I resisted it. I rejected it. I avoided it. I denied it. And once I started to learn more about the developmental psychology of children, of Black children, and I read that book multiple times, Dr. Amos Wilson, and I started to uncover the cultural foundations, the wisdom traditions, the concepts of education, intelligence, etc., from the perspective of ancient African traditional society. I then began to have this shift in consciousness, shift in perspective, and it shake, rattled, and rolled my point of view. So now I don't look at children as these passive beings that we have to pour so much into. Granted, yes, they must be educated. They must be nurtured. They must be socialized in very secure, healthy, warm, and loving ecosystems. But they do possess their own level of attunement and sensibility to spirit, to nature, to the ancestors. And if you don't want to believe that, I have three. And they all give me something to ponder on, something to question, something that raises my eyebrows, something that touches the depths and core of my being that, and most of the time, it's unspeakable. They're wise beyond their years. Not talking about them being smart. I'm talking about, especially from the sense of academia or public school education. I'm talking about their sensibility, their purity. They are not, they haven't been shaped and influenced and impacted by all the environmental stressors and obstacles and hazards that this social world possess. So they are essentially um, a great source to see yourself in all of your dimensions. So my two youngest, got a 9-year-old, which is my girl, our girl, and a 3-year-old, our last baby, our boy. And now our girl is highly emotional, highly sensitive, a creative thinker. She champions the principle of artistic expression and creativity. She's constantly asking questions. Most of them are philosophical in nature because she's trying to understand the different dynamics of life. love, relationships, the bond between nature and humanity. She tries to understand more intimately the cosmos, the constellation of the stars, the relevance and significance of the sun. And she also is very dedicated in understanding the human condition. I cannot walk around with a frown on my face. Well, I can, but it's going to go noticed, and she is going to try to therapize me. And so my daughter continues to show up in ways that keeps me soft and tender. And she reminds me of the beauty and the power of self-love, of self-knowing, and embodied liberation. Our youngest, our last baby, he has a fighter spirit, and he is fun, and he is extremely intelligent. He's 3 years old now, but he's been speaking. He's been talking since he was 1. Anything that you introduce him to, he may not know it right off the bat, but all you got to do is show him one time or explain to him one time, and then he soaks it right on up. His cognitive faculties are incredible. His emotional intelligence is astounding. And his ability to analyze his environment and find ways, very creative too, and innovative ways to get what he wants without asking for help, without asking for assistance. But he will find ways to manipulate the environment to get what he's looking for or what he demands. And I love watching him do that, whether that is moving the 5-gallon water jug to the counter so he can lift up and go into the cabinet and pick out his favorite cookie, or him picking up these boxes that we have and walk around like he's a robot, or sit in it and pretend that he's in a sailboat or in a vehicle. It's phenomenal. And through his life, his very young, short life, I have learned patience. I've learned patience and stillness with my youngest, because he is very demanding and he knows exactly what he wants, when he wants it, and how he wants it. And we are teaching our children how to be expressive and vocal and be incredible self advocates for themselves and for others. And our youngest has picked up on that lesson very early. And so through that, as a father, as a husband, there's times where, I just want him to do exactly what I want him to do when I want him to do it. And he's always contending, contesting, resisting. And I love that spirit. It's a, don't get me wrong. I get frustrated. I get annoyed. I'm like, man, why can't you just make this easy? But we're instilling in them that spirit of being critical, of asking questions, of knowing what you want, naming what you want, defining what you want. In a sense, he is teaching me self-determination because I'm actually becoming more and more confident speaking my needs, my ideas, my concepts, naming my experience, claiming my experience, and expressing it in a manner that requires no approval or permission. So our last baby has a revolutionary spirit. His character is just remarkable. He's very loving, very kind, very expressive, very thoughtful. He's the type of baby that will grab your face and look you in your eye and say, "I love you too much." I've never knew love like this. I came from a family village, and there was a lot of love there. A lot of love. Grandmother, great aunt, brother, sister, cousins, uncles, aunts. But it's something about the reincarnation of our ancestors through our children. They bring so much strength, so much wisdom, so much warm, radiating love and compassion that sometimes it feels too good to be true. Yet and still, it's not a coincidence. It's not a hoax. It's not misinformation. This is a continuation of the cycle on the circle of life. And so my children, gracefully imperfect, liberation, social work, it all intertwines. It's all complementary. And they all stem from an African-centered identity, sense of self, knowledge, and point of view / perspective. And in this great book, Know Thyself by Naeem Akbar, he writes that mental liberation requires that we locate ourselves on the timeline and map of human history, that we name and define ourselves, and that we rectify the problem of the loss of knowledge of self, wherein we are overwhelmed by other people's knowledge. And that definitional system right there of mental liberation is not only what my children embody and what they practice, but is also something that my wife and I, we two, we use as the centerpiece of our parenting, our homeschooling, the way that we interact with the children, the experiences and the opportunities that we afford our children, and also the ways in which that we create for ourselves, create with other people, using our skills, our talents, gifts, experience, expertise, and so forth. Lean into your mental liberation. Lean into it. Know more about yourself. Know more about your history, your ancestors, those who are part of your bloodline, and those who just share your ancestry or your origins. Learn a different language that's not English, French, Italian, German, etc. Learn a language that stems from our ancient beginnings, that connects us through time and space. The essence of humanity, the cradle of civilization, whether that be learning the Kemetic language, learning some kind of Nubian language, learning Dogon or Swahili. Mental liberation is something that we must not only develop within ourselves and we must achieve for ourselves, but it's something that we also must inculcate into the next generations and those who are unborn. I hope that as you move forward in your life, that you continue to embrace transformation, vulnerability, self-knowledge in all of its forms and all of its various faces and shapes and constellations. Be well, be blessed. Peace.